I'm retired law enforcement, and let me blow it up here where I can read everything. Retired law enforcement, 20 years of service. Worked from jail, road to investigations. I was a SWAT team entry leader, also a counter sniper. I'm state certified crime scene tech, which served me well during my investigative career. I worked everything from burglary to homicides, and I'm now currently retired and became an ambassador for law enforcement to the web sleuth communities. And but it's worked out well so far, and my community is growing. And I thank everyone that has supported this channel just through being here, comments and everything. And I look forward as we produce this content that we can have an impact that's positive upon all these cases that we look at. But tonight we're going to be looking at Kylie here as one of the our first case we're going to look at is that she went to a party a few days ago on the 5th and became after midnight was the last contact on her phone when it pinged at the party that she was at. Hasn't been seen since, or her vehicle. And so everybody is looking for her. She's out of Truckee, California is where the party was at. And as you can see, she's a 16-year-old girl. From what I've seen with the family and everything, when they spoke of her, that she's a brilliant young girl, graduated at 16 and was getting ready to go into and start her college courses, which is, someone that has that much dedication and intelligence that, I've seen some people and creators out there that's been talking about some of the how responsible she was or not. We have to be very careful. We never victim shame or anything. For the fact that, if she's 16 and already through high school and everything, she has she makes some good decisions. Did she make the good decisions that night? It doesn't appear to be so, but once again, like I said, no matter where we're at on this case or where she's at, and if anything bad happened to her, she didn't deserve what happened to her. And so we have to hope that, right now there is still hope that we could have a good ending to this. But time is running out for a positive outcome every day that she's missing. And while law enforcement is looking for her, it just turns, one moment to the next that certain the outcomes dims. And so as we look for her, this is her description. She's 5'7", white female, 115 pounds. She's driving a vehicle that's a 2013 silver Honda CRV. License plates on it is 8YUR127. And the importance of the license plates and on vehicles and things for law enforcement is that it's been, like I said, going over a week now that this vehicle has been missing. If it was on the roads and with some of the technology that law enforcement has at their disposal now, especially with the license plate scanners, if this vehicle was mobile, we were going by some of the stationary license plate identification systems, or even the vehicle systems that are out there that constantly scan for license plates, that if this vehicle was mobile, it would have been found by now, more than likely. Doesn't mean that it couldn't be parked somewhere, similar to what I think it was Christina Powell in Texas just a few weeks ago. Her vehicle sat for 2 or 3 weeks in a parking lot, stationary, and wasn't discovered. And so vehicles can be parked in plain sight, and if it's, if an individual doesn't call it in as suspicious, or if a patrol car doesn't drive by with the proper technology that can run that, or an officer doesn't see the tag or doesn't recognize the BOLO for such a vehicle, that vehicles can sit out in plain sight for extended periods of time. And so, and it's with that in mind that everyone, if you see a certain vehicle, now it being over a week, there's nowhere in the lower 48s that this vehicle couldn't be in. So if you see a vehicle matching this description that's parked somewhere, most certainly call it in, let law enforcement go up there and check out the vehicle. And like I said, it's going to be a silver Honda CRV 2013 model. And doesn't matter what type of tag it has on it right now, law enforcement, they're willing to go out there and check these vehicles out for the fact that they want some closure to this case also. But if you have any information, not only about, most importantly, if you do have any information on her, most certainly call that in. But if you have information about people that may have attended the party or have some knowledge of the party, I know that law enforcement is continuing to ask for tips and photographs. I watched one of the news briefings today on the Levelhead's channel when he was out there. And most certainly, if you have a chance, speaking about Levelheaded, he has a great YouTube channel, has some good content out there. Go and check him out and make sure that you subscribe to him and everything, because like I said,
his link is in the chat.
Yeah, the link is in the chat at the very start of the show. And he has the right moniker for his program and has a great community. But if you have information, most certainly contact them, let them know about what's going on. There's been a lot of channels out there that are focusing and as it always happens, as I've become aware once I've entered this community, that people get out there and they there's so much speculation and stuff. The main focus right now should be on trying to locate her, not arguing about who said what and if that's true or not. Law enforcement is analyzing currently everything that they can, and they just need more information. And every time that someone argues about certain things that may be going on or this or that, that time can be spent for looking for her or trying to find information to get to the law enforcement. And that's what we should try to focus on. So that LE will have everything, because there's nothing that we as individuals can think of that law enforcement, the FBI, and the investigators and all these agencies that they aren't aware of, and they have certain strategies and how they implement them. Thank you, Dark Arts. Most certainly appreciate that. It is the most important thing that we can do is get the word out on these kids, not only on these cases, but that we can discuss and show children, and as our kids come of age, that, the YouTube channels and everything, that you can get out there and you can discuss these issues with them and show them that, if you put yourself in certain positions, as I always discuss about victimology, that when you place yourself in harm's way at some time, it's not that you deserve what happens to you, but you unwittingly can put yourself in the path of a predator, and you just do not at a young age recognize the dangers of what these predators and how these predators operate and what they will do. And most certainly with this party that went on this night, with all these kids that were just entering into their adulthood and becoming adults, about to go to college, and the 18-year-olds, and then the party had not only was 18-year-olds, you had younger generation or younger kids there, but you had some older kids, and you had some older individuals that came there with one intent. And sadly, that's the case, that our society has so many predators, and it's so easy for them to come in. And with law enforcement saying that, that in this specific gathering, that, there was drugs, there was alcohol that was being introduced, and some of these kids hadn't experienced it. Some of them had, but some of them haven't. And and not knowing how to protect themselves properly. And it happens to adults. Adults often go to areas, go to parties, and become victims of certain predators. These predators, like I say, they're absolutely animals. They have one purpose in life, and they prey upon innocent victims. And we have to do everything we can to make everyone aware as much as we can about the dangers that these people can bring. All right. And then another case that we're having to look at tonight is Dylan Rounds out of Utah, another teenager. This young man has been missing since last contact with any family member was in the morning hours of May the 28th, I believe. And with Dylan, it's another heartbreaking case. The outcome of this most certainly appears it's going to be worst case scenario with what he is doing and what he has done. As you know, when he was started his own farm at such a young age, 18, that is quite the accomplishment for a young man to go out and do something like that and establish himself in any community as a farmer. And that's all he was trying to do out there, was be a young farmer. His family, when you listen to them, they speak of him, and that this is all he ever wanted to do from the time he was a young child. And I understand that. I was raised on a farm, still live on that same farm, and probably always will live on this same farm. But but he chose this way of life, and out there in Utah. And from the time that he came up missing on that date, the family has put everything and every effort they can into trying to locate him and keep him as the focus of being, endangered and missing. And now that the FBI has come involved, law enforcement, when they started out, didn't do a good. It wasn't properly handled, from my understanding of what the family said. And it was after several weeks before the FBI became involved, and some of the agencies stepped forward and started paying more attention, started processing certain issues with this case. But Dylan is a 5'10" white male, weighs about 160 pounds, has brown hair, and most certainly they have a tip line that you can contact here at 435-734-3800. And the family has a Facebook page, and there's so much information that you can go out there and look on Facebook and find some updates about what's going on currently. There has been the interest shown on this case is, just go on YouTube and type in Dylan, and you'll see one of the most in-depth YouTube channels out there you can check is Mob Crew. Chris has a great channel. I've spoke to him several times about this case. He has some great information on it. He's covered it in depth. And of all the YouTube channels, he spent more time on the ground out there, him and his friend, with their drones. And so they have some great footage and stuff. So check out their stuff. And absolutely. But in Lucin, Utah, as you can see, that this is from a Google map, that from where Dylan's trailer and farm was on the far right-hand side, it was about 5 miles to a grain shed that he was trying to get to that morning hours of May the 28th, because there was incoming rain and he wanted to protect his seed on his truck. But so he was in his rush to get there. He made a phone call to his grandmother. It was a strange phone call because, like I said, he interrupted it and said that he was in a rush to get. Was that due to that he might possibly made a wrong phone call or missed dial on his phone system? Because the help that lives at the grain shed where he was trying to get the truck, his name is um, Jim. His grandmother's name was Karen, and so J and K. So I don't know while he was driving the truck if he just misdialed the phone number or not, but most certainly the grandmother said that he had called that morning and said, oh, he was in a rush to get there to try to get his seat up and everything. And then did he make another phone call to Jim to get the gate open so that he could get into the grain shed? We don't know about any of that right now, exactly what was the contacts on his phone, but I can assure you that once FBI became involved, law enforcement, and everybody started stepping up doing the right protocols, they would have found out all the phone messaging, phone calls, and would be able to look at that information and be able to further that and see what could be done as far as identifying who all he had contact with that morning and in the previous days and hours. Because when you do those victimologies, it's when did you cross paths with whatever type of predator, friend or not? Because there's a lot of times that bad things happen to you from people that you know in that relationship. You can have a long time personal relationship. You know, I worked a lot of cases where families fought and families hurt and killed each other. And I've seen cases where friends did the exact same thing, that something can key someone and can make them do something that they normally wouldn't do. And is that the case with this? We don't know yet, but most certainly the FBI, as we'll look at and as we go into this a little bit more about Dylan and his relationship with Jim, that most certainly that is a possibility, because they've named Jim as a suspect in this. And for law enforcement and FBI to ever list someone as a suspect, that is strong language. And they most certainly have to have some type of evidence that is pointing in a certain direction for that to have occurred, that something has occurred and they have evidence of that. But this is Dylan's home site. When you look at it from his trailer and truck and from the landscape, this isn't the type of farming that we're here in Georgia. We have green. We have everything here green, weeds and stuff. Out there, it doesn't look like you could grow anything, but most certainly with irrigation and water rights and everything there, they're able to bring a crop up anywhere, and he chose this lifestyle. I wouldn't know where to start in such a situation as this, but he did, and it was going to be his first crop, and he had worked hard on it. But then we have the second location where the grain shed is, where he was driving the seed truck to, and he was trying to get within that barn area so that he could back his truck in there or pull his truck in there and protect that seed. From this location at the grain shed, there's a couple of bits of information that are disheartening and extremely troublesome. Dylan's boots were found several hundred feet away from the grain shed behind a dirt mound that you can see down here in the bottom left-hand corner. The family said that they appeared to just have been tossed across the mound and there was some blood on them. That blood would be analyzed. And also, when I was speaking with Chris from the mob crew, they were there flying their drones and doing some research and attempting to locate Dylan. And when they were approached by an FBI agent on the property line, and Chris said that you could see some of the agents or personnel walking what appeared to be a grid search pattern, shoulder to shoulder, in a certain area just in front of the grain shed, and which is very concerning. what were they looking for in that area? What had alerted in that area? Was it canines? Was it metal detectors? What were they doing in that certain area, doing a grid search, which they would, regardless on the whole properties, that they've used every type of technologies and resource that is available to, especially the FBI, because they have, one of the best labs in the world. They have personnel that are highly dedicated and highly trained in processing crime scenes. And it's absolutely amazing what you can do at crime scenes with proper equipment and proper training. And so if they're looking for something and they have certain evidence that they're able to locate, they'll be able to determine a lot from that evidence and be able to proceed, as evidently they have, because as some of the paperwork that's been filed and some of the arrests and some of the newspaper articles that's been put out there, that it most certainly appears that they will be able to list Jim as a suspect. Like I said, that's strong language, and they did that for a reason. And so what type of evidence did they find? There's some articles out there that said they have some forensics. And so are we just waiting now for the final lab reports to get in, more than likely, and also for the discovery that, the longer it's going on now, we're looking at, 3 months. Mm-hmm. And so we're here at 3 months, and he's not found. So we have to look at it more than likely as the worst case scenario. And when and where will they finally locate Dylan and his remains? And hopefully, that when we look at a case and, finding the remains isn't a good outcome, but there is, families often want just to find something of their loved ones, such as we saw recently in the McClurkin case. And, but we can only, do what we, with law enforcement. They're going to be searching as much as they can and trying to find that final information and get and apply what pressure they can to the individuals, that if it is Jim, where is where is Dylan? And if it's someone that assisted Jim, that where is Dylan? And so they can apply pressures and everything, and hopefully they can resolve something for the family. But like I said, Dylan made a phone call that morning at 28th at 6:51, and said that it was made from his farm. And so while he's driving, was this a misdial that he made to his grandmother? We don't know, but it's a possibility. And, you can just speculate. Why would he call his grandmother if if he's driving this truck, which is a heavy farm truck? Maybe he wasn't paying attention to his phone and just, like I said, misdialed. But they'll know exactly that with the data they'll collect. They'll see that if he hung up with her at 6:51 and if he made a phone call at 6:52, we'll know this at some point, and that will open up and explain a lot of the speculation about what may have occurred that morning.
Okay. Isn't Will the one we want it to be? Right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Hey, Will.
Keep going.
When Dylan Rounds wasn't located in the early search efforts, the chief deputy out there, Cade Palmer, said that the current totality of information gathered from the many interviews and searches, and with the analysis of both physical evidence and forensic data, they have identified James Brenner as a suspect. This one sentence here leads anyone in law enforcement to the conclusion that they have a lot of evidence and there's something, and most certainly it will not be a positive outcome on this case as far as Dylan being alive. We can always hope and still hope, but this if that was the case, someone.
Here we go again. There you go.
All right. Are we still up? All right,
Well, I am, but I was trying to hit this and I hit
okay.
the wrong button.
Okay. Okay. Hey,
It's the
Derek.
Google machine thing again.
Hey, Derek. Yeah, she'll hit the wrong one every now and then. Just bear with us, guys. We'll get it figured
Thank
out.
you, Derek.
Thank you, Derek. Means a lot, and appreciate everything that you do. And look forward to talking to you again. Send me an email, and we'll get together on the phone. Need to talk to you about something anyway. But and when law enforcement makes such a strong statement that they have both physical evidence and forensic data, the physical evidence means they have recovered something from either the grain shed area or from his farm or from his vehicle or from the truck, the seed truck, or even the boots. Whatever evidence they have found something that is critical and something that has, you know, like I said, they don't, you know, it's so much stronger that you can always have where law enforcement says we're looking for a person of interest. But when they mention suspect, that puts it in a whole new light. Then there was another individual that was a person of interest early on, and with Chase Venstra. And then a search warrant they did on him, they mentioned, Laura, thank you. Thank you, Lord, for your support and everything and all this support and these monies and everything that is sent to us is greatly appreciated because it is going to be put to a good purpose that you'll see here in just a few minutes at the end of this presentation. I'll be talking about some of the equipment that we're looking at and that we're going to be buying, and we have ordered some already. But thank you for that. That means a lot to us. It really does. But in this court paperwork that was filed with Chase Venstra, they mention a homicide. They don't mention whose homicide, but they do mention that that search warrant was issued in conjunction with a homicide investigation. And, you know, either Chase has been involved in something else or they just in the sidelines mentioned, and it came out in that other paperwork in the investigation of Dylan that this is the homicide that they're speaking of. We won't know until, once again, court is fully, until it's disclosed at proper time during some of the filings and things, pre-court trial hearings and things that will happen. But in that, they were found two firearms in that case, just like they found firearms with the next affidavit that we'll look at with Mr. Brenner, that they're looking for firearms, and they did get firearms. Does that mean that's the type of evidence that they may have found something involving firearms? We don't know yet, because there's a lot of ways and a lot of injuries and a lot of manners of death that can occur in close quarters or over great distances with firearms. But it is that in both affidavits, firearms were seized. And so we have to look at that. And, you know, which any time a firearm is used in any type of crime, not only will they look at that firearm for that crime, but they'll run ballistics on it and see if it's has been associated with any other type of crimes against individuals anywhere, because they'll run ballistics and then they'll run those ballistics against other crimes that's unsolved and see if they can't link them together. And there's been here in the state of Georgia numerous cases that every time that we confiscated a gun that was used in a crime, we sent it to the crime lab. They'd fire that gun, run those ballistics against unsolved crimes, and sometimes you get hits on them, and they'll do the same thing with us. But here is James Jim Brenner. He was a individual that worked with Dylan and worked for Dylan on his farm, and also was kind of living on site there at the grain shed, and was kind of a person that was looking over the place, and they some of the speculation is that him and Dylan at times didn't get along at certain points, but then again, at certain points, he did get along with him. And what was their true relationship? Hey, Dave, thank you, sir. Once again, appreciate all the support and everything. It means a lot to us, and we'll do everything we can to make sure all monies and everything and all the support given to us is put to a good purpose. But with Mr. Brenner here, he does have a criminal history, and it has been established that he has used firearms in the past. He is a man of violence, and he's also listed as a suspect. And when you add all that together, most certainly, Mr. Brenner here has got some issues that he's going to have to face in the near future at some point. And what those final charges will be and how cooperative that he will be during this investigation. I'm hoping that that some great information comes out in the near future. But some of the paperwork and affidavit they filed against him was here at when they went and did a search warrant, and they got some information from another neighbor of Mr. Brenner that some guns were brought and deposited with this neighbor, and so the FBI seized those weapons, and from black powder to a .22 caliber rifle. And when they filed that paperwork and to charge him, because he's a convicted felon, and convicted felons can't be in possession of firearms, it meant that most certainly this was a process that law enforcement, that the FBI in this case, used to hold him. They had identified certain critical evidence that said that he was a suspect, and so there's no better way to hold someone than put them in jail, because once they're in jail, they're there. And when I looked at the person that had signed this affidavit, and you'll see the same here, I may mispronounce. I don't know if that's Falk or Folk, but he's a special agent with FBI, and he's with the Violent Crime Task Force. This individual would be an individual that works with FBI that would work on anything violent crimes, from armed robberies, bank robberies, to assaults, homicides. You work violent crimes for one reason: you're a seasoned investigator, and so when he went and got the information and obtained this search warrant and this affidavit for the arrest for him to be issued against James Brenner, that means a lot and speaks volumes. And so, with that being in mind, that we have to look at this, that if anyone out there that has any information about any of this cases of Kylie or of Dylan, most certainly call in that information. And if you have any, there's so much stuff out there that has been brought forth, and the families have searched so hard. Both families, one of them, and both families are continuously, even to this day, going out there trying to find any type of lead that will bring some type of closure to their cases. That we have to help them as much as possible, and we most certainly want to do that. But now, I guess if we got any questions.
You gonna do your update?
Oh, I got one more. Oh yeah, on our update. This was for this, and this was a side note. We was on business meetings this week.
Slide over just a little bit. You're not in.
Okay. And we was in business meetings this week, and also we had looking at some equipment that we're going to get and everything. And so with the donations and everything, the money is given to us as I build a lab and I buy and purchase equipment to do my next project, which is going on the road for some of these cold cases. I've got several people that have contacted me on cold cases that want me to process certain evidence and things. And so to do that, processing, and also to go on the road and assist in certain searches or certain situations that I may be able to have a positive effect. That's why we're going to start this next project that we want to do. And this here is buying all this equipment. This is what the government gave me for many, many years to work with. I work with everything from alternative lighting, DNA collection kits, blood spatters, all the protective equipment for my body, and not only to protect my person, but also to protect the crime scene from any type of DNA transfer. But there's a lot of stuff out there that we're going to be doing. And I'm also going to start a series of training videos of where I'll create and show my community how to process certain things for how to collect evidence, how to fingerprint, how to what luminol looks like when it's applied in both contained areas and outdoor scenes, such as what with Delphi would be. I'll be able to go out there and demonstrate some of this stuff and show you certain things about how law enforcement will approach these and how they'll process it, so that the web sleuth community will have a better understanding of how law enforcement does certain things and how we process certain things. But like I said, we always, this is what we've been discussing now for several weeks of what we wanted to do. So we've got this plus a lot of other equipment that we're going to be looking at. But like I said, I wanted to put that in tonight just to give you an update of what and where we're moving in the future towards certain things. And we thank you, and bear with us as we create some of this stuff. Thank you, Pam. Like I said, everything that y'all do for us and all the support, the nice comments, and
It's amazing.
it is. And also from even on the website, from what the generosity of people has been is absolutely amazing. We thank each and every one of you. And thank you, Pam. We'll try to do and
we're
make
going to
sure
do right by you.
We're going to try to do everything we can to have a great impact out there and see if we can't do something for some of these families. But anyway, all righty.
All right, so let's get back, if it'll let me get back to the top.
I'm going to be going back and forth between these two.
You going to do what?
I'll be going back and forth between these two slides on
all right
tip line.
All right, so housekeeping, level-headed. His link is out there along with support with Steffa. Please go check them out if you're not already. Sign up. They're fabulous.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's see here. If I can get this Google machine to work today. Let's see. Support with Steffa. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Steve, and the almighty Google machine.
Yeah, we learned, we was on our trip last week, business trip, and we didn't take any of the computers with us, and we learned a valuable lesson.
Leave the Google machine at home, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Teresa says, the Kylie case gives me Skylar Niece and Shanda Scherer case vibes.
I will look at those.
Unfamiliar territory there.
All right.
We'll see. We'll look into those.
I think I remember those names. I just, like I said, I've looked at so much in the last day or two.
Yeah, no kidding.
Trying to get caught up because we just got back. What was it, Thursday or Friday? I can't even remember.
Thursday. Thursday afternoon, because you had a thing, you had a show Thursday night, remember? All right. And Teresa, yes, at Sweet Caroline, Skylar Niece's case, her two best friends killed her.
Okay, yeah.
That's not good. Support with Steffa. She is 16. The reasoning part of her brain is not fully developed. Never victim shame. We have all been 16.
Oh, yes.
Ooh, yeah.
I can remember.
I'll try not to remember.
Several decades ago.
Yeah, just a few. Let's see, Raggedy Susan, we've all done stupid things. We learn from it, hopefully.
And
All right.
okay.
And Lisa asked, was this eligible for an Amber Alert?
You know, and today on Level Headed channel, we were discussing this, and the things about the Amber Alert. There's going to have to be certain things. The Amber Alert is
That's for abduction or something.
it's for abductions and stuff, but the the fallacy and what happens and is that it doesn't hurt what happens with law enforcement. The Amber Alerts has no effect on what is putting out there on the National Crime Information Center and the local, like here in Georgia, we have the Georgia Crime Information Center, which is referred to as GCIC, and then you have the National Crime Information Center, NCIC. But NCIC works along with each state's information center. And so when that information on, say, with Kylie is missing, or with Dylan as being missing or endangered, and Kylie being missing or in danger, that once it goes on the state's information center, and then it goes on NCIC, that information is out there. Law enforcement is giving the lookouts, giving the bolos. They run a tag, they run a name, they run an ID that's been found. They find a purse, they find a billfold. That information doesn't. But the problem with the Amber Alert is what it has on the general public, that the general public isn't aware of these missing persons. And so most certainly they need to change how that is set up and protocols on it, for the fact that in this day and age, information can be put out there, as we know, within minutes. And so they need to change some of this stuff. And it does affect the public at large, how quick and how much information could be out there and how helpful we as a community can be. And hopefully law enforcement will, there's nothing says that you can't go out there and put everything out there in social media instantly. And law enforcement is going to have to start making that decision that if the Amber Alert isn't working and it doesn't qualify, there's nothing that holds these departments up that they can't go ahead and do it themselves on the social media platforms. And there's certain law enforcement agencies that will, and they'll bypass, that if it doesn't qualify for Amber and the laws prohibit Amber to be activated, they most certainly can still do it by different names.
All right. And Lady Truth says, why is Sammy lying? She said she was 18. She's older.
I have no idea. And of that, and law enforcement be looking into it. I don't, like I said, I have no idea about any and all of those friends and so-called friends and relationships and what they were.
And Teresa, there's a boat dock of sand, would be easy to drive into or be pushed into the reservoir.
Like I said, they have so many technologies, and one of the drones I'm looking at is an underwater drone that can be operated, and so they can do searches with. And then they got these side imaging sonar and stuff that can be used. And most certainly, they're putting all the efforts into whatever technologies, from ground penetrating radar to satellite imaging. There's the technologies are now is just absolutely astounding.
And Lady Truth, her car could be in a building, body of water, or even on a shipping crate.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much out there. I mean, and it's so easy to hide a vehicle. And
all right. And Vanessa Marie says they need the chaos divers, Steffa.
Yeah, I saw where they was using some technologies, and there's and I think some of the chaos divers I saw. I don't know if they was on this one, but I saw where there was some diving team that was using some technologies the other day. Either on this case or another California case.
And then Teresa, Adventures with Purpose said they'll go. I hope Equa Search gets involved too.
Absolutely.
So that'd be good. All right. And Laura Doon at True Crime Web. Mr. Steve stated Friday night in a chat that you are his world. Maybe that should be added as a bulleted item on the bio page of the purple. I should have read that before I put that up there.
Oh, yeah.
That's so sweet, Laura. Thank you.
And I did. I was on Crime and Shame, and they were talking about.
So you noticed I wasn't on there, right?
Yeah. It was Deb's. It was Deb's. I think 38th or 39th wedding anniversary.
Oh, okay.
And I said we had only been together for 32.
That's right.
But it was due to my wit and charm.
And the romantic gifts.
And the romantic gifts. She'll tell you. And,
that is a story all of its own. That would take all night.
Yeah. And right? they were making fun of me because Adam was that only a man would say he had wit and charm.
That's it. That's it. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let's see here. Let's see here. Support with Steffa. ADP said they will search for her if she has not been found in the next 3 weeks. That's when they'll be finished with their summer searches.
Good.
So that's good.
Adventures with a purpose. They are.
Yes.
They're great.
And Lady Truth, I can't believe there's barely any photos.
I started seeing where some of them were coming out today, and they were getting some. And how many do they have? Don't know. How many will they release? We don't know yet. But most certainly, law enforcement apply certain leverages, and they'll be getting as many as they can.
All right, let's see here. Paper Chaser, it sounds like the most help we can be is to keep eyes and ears open for both her and the vehicle. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Tweety Bird, teens phones are super glued to their hands. I'm surprised there's not a tons of photos. That's what I said. That still amazes me they're not there.
They're out there. They're there. Now have they been deleted? I don't know, but they're out there.
They are there. All right. And double rainbows. At that age, we think we're invincible. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let's see here. Steffa, we can be a victim at any age and at any location.
That has been proven time and time again.
All right, Boston Christian, that's right. So why do we keep letting them out on our streets? They're definitely different.
I assume you're talking about some of the criminals and some of the predators.
Oh, yeah.
And it is our judicial system of how they handle some of these repeat offenders, absolutely horrible of what our courts allow back out on the streets.
All right, Vanessa, starting a farm at any age takes a special kind of motivation. It's incredibly hard, I'm sure.
It is, absolutely. And, they're...
especially out there.
Yeah, like I said, we raise cattle all our lives here, but I can't imagine out there what type of crops they could raise, but they do.
All right. At True Crime Web, do you think that Dylan's disappearance looks more like a professional hit? And this is from Steffa.
Mm-hmm. No, I think, there's so many speculations out there and everything. And about when people look at crimes, the longer it goes, the more speculations along that you'll always see there's certain trends about certain things that may have happened and everything. But generally, most homicides, most cases are over the most simple and dumbest thing imaginable. And so you can have some complex issues sometimes, but on a farmer and everything, I would doubt that would be.
All right. In USA, Libertarian, are there cases where they could collect a grid of soil samples and take them to cadaver dogs in a lab?
There's training issues, and there's training that happens with exactly this, that dirt and soil samples, and these dogs are trained, and there's dogs that are trained in so many different disciplines. You can go on there and look up K9 training disciplines that the FBI has. They've got everything from dogs that can assist in processing crime scenes to locating cadavers, both water recovery and land recovery, and tracking dogs. There's so many disciplines out there that these dogs can do, and it's absolutely amazing. And they train them in just about anything and everything that is imaginable, from arson on. And it's very impressive to watch a good handler with a well-trained dog at what they can do. It's like magic.
Much like yours upstairs.
You can't. I got a dog Barry find his food bowl.
All right. Level-headed. Thank you for all you do. That was my thought. What crop was he growing?
It is absolutely amazing.
And then I have an answer to that. Lady Truth says, alpha. I'm thinking it's alfalfa. Food to feed livestock, and it was already sold.
That's absolutely. Like I said,
That's
I can't
sad.
imagine.
And then,
that being your first crop, and you had the whole future ahead of you, and then something like this happens.
yeah. And then Raggedy Susan, that's so strange. They found his boots.
It is, and like I said, why was his boots removed? Worst case scenario is for control. I worked cases where that had happened. I worked one case where that specifically happened.
Yeah, that's awful. Tweety Bird, it's so sad Dylan won't get to harvest his crops now. I heard the dad had to turn off the water, sadly. That's awful.
It is. I mean, they're everything about that family and that farm now will always, I mean, how do you recover from that? The memories and stuff, just unimaginable.
And Dave has my thoughts. Still trying to figure out why his boots were off.
I don't know if you've, like I said, sometimes in certain search situations, and the one I was involved in, they took the boots off so that they can control, and so they couldn't get away without being barefoot. And is that the situation in this one? Don't know. Is it a possibility? Absolutely. But it's just like I said, we don't know. We know so little about this case currently.
All right. And Raggedy Susan, the Daniel Robinson case, they found his belongings scattered too.
Yes.
You know about that one?
No, not on him, not specifically. But there's a lot of cases out there that of missing individuals that are certain conditions due to the body hypothermia and stuff that they would disrobe and stuff. But that's not the case with this one. I mean, we're talking about middle of the summer, lightning storm, which that brings in another issue I had with that he was trying to get his grain truck into the building before the rains. And I discussed this with Chris, was that here in Georgia, during lightning storms, you're not outside, or during thunderstorms. And I know the mother said that he walked quite frequently from one piece of machinery to another. But I don't know what types of storms they have out there. I don't know how severe they are. Don't know how lightning is. But I know that everything I've ever heard about big storms in the deserts and stuff, that you can have everything from flooding, flash floods, and everything, that it's a hazard to walk across certain ravines because due to flash flooding. And I would thank you, Iowa Group. That means a lot. We'll put it to good use. And like I said, y'all's support is absolutely unbelievable, and we owe y'all so much. But it always concerned me that he would be out there walking during either a possibility of a flash flood or a lightning strike. And like I said, here in Georgia, we don't, when lightning comes in, if even though I'm on the tractor bush hogging, I get off my tractor. I'm not going to chance it. And would he chance it? That I understand trying to get his truck protected, but once it's protected, how was he going to get back to his farm? And who was going to take him back to his farm, to his vehicle? And that'll be answered at some point. What phone calls did he make? What arrangements did he make? Or was he going to walk back during a rainstorm? I just found that odd. That it's something I wouldn't do, but it might be something that he would do. And his habits and things that he did out there, people would know.
All right, so this thing has bounced around.
Okay, it's bounced.
All right, so here we go. Double rainbows. If his boots were steel toe, perhaps they were removed to avoid any ground penetrating sonar from locating Dylan if he's underground.
Don't know. That would take someone of a higher mentality to even process either through steel-toed, through some type of discovery for ground penetrating or metal detectors. But that is a good thought. But that's a higher thinking process.
Now, this sounds plausible to me.
Okay.
Lady Truth. People think he's deep where they can't pick him up, or ground already disturbed, a mine then caved in.
That's extremely possible. And I know that they said there were quite a few old mines out there, and that is most certainly a possibility. And the individuals living in that community would know some of those places. But I'm sure they'll run, some of the cadavers and run the dogs, cadaver dogs in some of those locations to see if they have any hits.
All right, let's see here. Patricia, this felon didn't achieve as much in all his years as Dylan had by aged 19. That must have stung his pride.
Most certainly could be a possibility.
Yeah, no doubt.
And, as young men, we all had our differences once we reached a certain ages with our father figures and our fathers and everything that, we all have that. And most certainly, some of our, as we get older, sometimes we just don't, what do you got?
Double rainbows.
Oh, okay.
Told you where Daniel Robinson's in Buckeye, Arizona.
Okay, we'll put him down.
So we'll look for that. All right.
But like I said, all men, whenever as we mature and we have arguments with our fathers, and then we have arguments with our children, that there's certain processes there, and there's certain individuals out there that you just cannot reckon with. And, if you're dealing with a certain type of personality and that is a felon or something such as this Jim, he most certainly, it's not a far leap of thinking that he may have done something that most certainly ended the life of Dylan. This
is cute. From Amy S. So awesome that you're refiring instead of retiring.
Oh, man.
That's good. That was a good one.
That's quick. I like that. Refiring.
All right. And Aaron, I was hoping I would do some type of training videos. Very exciting. I was hoping you would do some probably. They're going to be good ones.
Now, we have some of these are seeking criminal degrees and stuff. And so.
Yeah, I don't know who's doing that. All right, let's see here. What is this? Let's see, verbal and nonverbal leakage. Verbal leakage is to leak the truth online.
I don't know.
I'm going to skip it. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Sandy Riggs reminds me of Dragnet, Adam 12, what I grew up with. Daddy was original CSI in Knox County, Tennessee. He'd be proud to see this in action. I will be too.
And there's a lot of us now. Like I said, we got to see the transition back in the 90s as this, pre-CSI. Now everybody out there knows and sees, and weekly you can watch some of these techniques. And there's some truth in almost all of it. It's just not as easy as what they show in that 40-something minute TV show. Because like I said, sometimes you're just trying to get across, you're 10 feet away from a piece of evidence, and it may take you a couple hours to get to it, versus that they'll walk over there and pick it up. And it's part of their skit. It's not in law enforcement.
All right. And at will, do you think on the hearing Brenner has to face the gun charges, we may find out something about the case or the cause of him being a suspect?
During the hearings on that, it depends on how and what and how they approach us. If most certainly, as the case progresses, if they can't find Dylan, they most certainly may be using that any information he can give may be more lenient of what they would do as far as seeking charges or for him, or if it used to be that you had to have a body to prosecute. Science has got to the point now that you don't. You can have certain elements of a crime, and once you have those certain elements, you don't need a body. And I don't know what it is in Utah, but we will probably find out in the coming days.
All right. And from SD at Steve, do you feel this is an abduction or accidental death case in respect to Kylie?
Right now, I'm still hoping for the best, and that it's neither. Hopefully, it's just a runaway and that she's hiding somewhere for some reason or anything. But worst case scenario, the worst case is, of course, the abduction. And it's no better really than if you had an accidental overdose or a drug case. All of them are a certain burden. They're sad for the family, but the abduction, if you have an abduction, which is a worst case scenario, because then you have to have a predator, and you probably have a predator that's done it before, and you probably have a predator that can do it again. And so that's the worst case scenario. And I wanted to qualify that being the worst case. The drug overdose most certainly could have been, and that they're covering it up or anything. So, both of those are equally bad.
All right. And Sandy Riggs, there is a mess up Placer County, California. The police are trying not to let the kids run the case. They are trying to help. There's a lot to be sorted.
And you see where the some of these kids have tried to place themselves into the line of collection of data and information, and but law enforcement they've made it clear that nothing's to be passed through them. There's one tip line. There's one line of getting the information in and use it.
All right, and I think Derek sent you an email.
Okay.
Got it, Derek. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And Will wants to know if there's any updates on Cyclops.
This week, did you get any more in this week? No.
North Carolina is coming on hopefully tomorrow. We got another one hopefully coming out towards the end of the week. There's 11 up there now. So slowly but surely, we're making progress. 1 or 2 of the zones are going to be completed within the next 2 weeks.
Good.
So thanks for that, Will.
And thanks all our volunteers out there that's helped us, that send us in information and doing all that data collection.
Absolutely.
It's constant, and there will always be new stuff. And we're, it's very depressing when when I talk to some of our volunteers and stuff, they tell me about that. They never realized what the level of problem was of the missing people out there. And most certainly, if anyone can go out there and look at these cases and these clusters and have some type of positive impact on locating anybody, most certainly do so and let us know.
And Dave, I don't understand why they just didn't put out the alert. What could it hurt? I said that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, law enforcement doesn't have to do just by what the Amber Alert is, but some states have certain qualifiers, and if it doesn't meet those qualifiers, they don't use it. But like I said, it just aggravates me. I'm with you.
And Patricia thinks Kylie drove into the reservoir.
Most certainly,
That makes sense
possibility.
too.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible.
Oh, let's see here. Teresa, Summers' case still has an Amber Alert, but they've ruled out abduction.
And
That's Summer Wells in Tennessee.
yes,
All right. And Lady Truth, why would they ask for the public to look out for her necklaces?
that the value on those necklaces or something that may be what they're looking for. That they may have some type of reason that they believe either was that the motive for her abduction, or is that a something that if she was abducted or they have some indication that there's a separation of her jewelry and whatever that information is, I don't know, but it most certainly is interesting.
All right. And Patricia says Ellie said that Kylie's phone was switched off at 12:33, but Sammy said Kylie rang her at 12:36. A bit iffy.
And law enforcement most certainly will know what that information is and if that's true or not, and they'll act appropriately.
And Nadia said Adventure with a Purpose will be going at the end of the month.
Yep.
That'll be interesting to watch.
It will. I saw some updates of where they recovered just this week, somebody.
And Will, I know those divers solve cold cases where the local LE think they might have drove off and it was just missed. Cars move underwater. It's sad, but it does happen.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
And you said the other night that it can float for a long while.
Vehicles can float for a long distance off the end of the ramp.
All right. And at 4, at Stephen Chat, I'm watching these cases, but I'm all Delphi all the time. So thank you all for the updates you sleuths are bringing.
Thank you.
So we appreciate that.
And we'll still be working on Delphi also.
Absolutely. Tweety Bird, I want to know who really saw Kylie at the party. There isn't any proof that I've seen. Someone could have had Kylie's phone to make it ping at the party. Just saying. I agree.
There's one of her friends. We know that she made it there because she dropped off one of her friends at the party. So she was there for that period of the drop off. So, but how long she was there, don't know.
All right, let's see here. Are we done? All right, Patricia, I wonder if the perp was going to keep Dylan's boots until he realized they were very recognizable. Would he? Be kind of heavy, wouldn't it?
You never know. Like I said, it depends upon the mentality of the person and the perpetrator and the personality type. But like I said, there's some people that do certain types of crimes or of low mental capacity, and like I said, we can't rule anything out right now.
All right, CJK, do they usually use both a live scent dog and a cadaver dog?
They'll use multiples of any type of dog that's trained in a certain discipline. And just because you have alert from one dog, they may bring in another dog and not tell that handler what happened or where they're searching or what indications they had. And so they can run a multiple dogs within the same discipline to re-verify or to verify that, yes, we do have a hit in a certain area. And, but that's, common practice of what they'll do sometimes with some of these dogs that are trained in these disciplines.
All right. And Will, if you have any valid information about Dylan Round's case, please reach out to the Box Elder Police Department, not speculation. If you witnessed or someone told you something, tell them. You have that number? Oh, yeah.
There we go. Those are the phone numbers.
So that's the BESO, that's Box Elder?
I believe so.
I didn't know what that was. Okay. Another comment about Daniel Robinson. So you really need to look for that.
Okay.
And Will says that he's talked to Daniel Robinson's father. It's a very sad case, praying for him and all involved.
Okay. Well, look, I'll check on it.
All right. So let's see here. Okay. All right, let's see here. Patricia, Sammy's mom and dad have a PI company?
Private investigator.
Wow, I think that's why Sammy's all over this.
Yeah, and it may be.
She feels like she owns it.
Maybe.
Let's see here. All right, Will says that Mr. Robinson would come on, etc. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so we'll skip all that. All right. Oh, back to the necklaces. She never took those necklaces off, her parents said. That's why they're so concerned with her. Kind of like me, I never take mine off.
Yeah, I mean, still, I guess if they find the necklaces, that confirms something.
But if they were unique or,
Oh, yeah.
hand done or something like that, then, that might be it. All right. And this is from Will at True Crime Web. Can you explain to people how information gets entered into Name Us?
That's more of a, I think anyone can supply that information to that organization. I don't know how much law enforcement works with them, but I know there's several organizations about missing that law enforcement, most certainly can use. There's so many programs out there, but like I said, the one law enforcement uses that is in between each department is, of course, the NCIC and each state's information center. But more of these others, I don't know what all the process is about what criteria is needed. But I will look into that and get back with you on that.
All right. Now, this one here is a good. Will's had his thinking cap on. How many crime scenes do you think we have here in the Rounds case at a minimum? Can you explain how there is multiple crime scenes in one crime?
Most certainly, they're going to be looking on this one at the possibility of at least 3 crime scenes. We're going to have that if something happened at the grain shed and they were doing that grid search that Chris was talking about with a mob crew, that they were doing that grid search there and where the boots were. There was a separation of the 2 locations from where the FBI was to where the boots are, several hundred yards. So even in that grain shed, that they're going to be processing that one farm area as a crime scene incomplete. Now you may have isolated areas, whereas they'll process the grain, the seed truck, they'll process wherever a dog or ground penetrating radar or metal detectors or even site searches may spot some type of evidence. And so each of those areas will be processed as a part of that crime scene. Where the boots were located, they would process it. But then you would go to his residence. And I know the family said that there were certain oddities about his truck that had been it appeared that the 4-wheel drive had been engaged and 4-wheel drive didn't work on that truck, and that the truck was locked, which is something that Dylan never did. So they'll process his residence as a crime scene. And then when they do find wherever Dylan is, that will be another crime scene. So we have at least in 3 separate areas that they'll be processing. In some areas, they may have multiple areas, like I said, at the grain shed, that from where the boots were to where the truck is to where they were doing the grid search that Chris saw. And I mean, it gets extremely complex of trying to build all this and create a book of that tells a story, and compiling each of these crime scenes together to reveal in court exactly what happened. But it's, you know, it's hard to do, and but law enforcement's trained to do that.
All right. And double rainbows. I never knew different types of canine dogs were utilized for different scent purposes. Interesting.
Yep.
Patricia, did you know that Kylie's home was also a hotel?
I had seen where someone was mentioning a bed and breakfast.
I missed that one. Let's see here. Raggedy Susan. I sent you Daniel's Facebook page. Thank you very much. And let's see here. And Olivia, if the necklaces are real gold, they're worth a lot of money. That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. Let's see, Patricia, I have a nephew that's been missing since 2016. He was from the UK, but went missing in Turkey.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Sorry to hear that. Sad.
Bless your heart. All right.
Huh?
You are done.
Well, guys, I want to thank each and every one of you that gave and for all your support. It means a lot to us. And we're as we progress, we'll be getting back with you, giving you some updates. And hopefully I've got some videos that will start that process of creating that content for everyone. And most certainly, if y'all have any information for Dylan, call it in. And also, if you have any information for Kylie, call that information in also. And until I see you next time, thank you for everything y'all have done for us, for your kind comments, your donations. It just absolutely makes our day and just have a positive impact on anyone and everyone that you can. See y'all soon.